The 21st century has given rise to continuous technological advancement, which has led to a cultural shift towards online spaces. This shift has had many positive effects, but it has had intense negative effects as well. Since social media's conception, there has been an increasing amount of digital hate, which has reached a boiling point over the last decade. The digital hate has largely been instigated by alt-right extremists, targeting currently and historically oppressed minorities. This has sparked debate about free speech in online spaces. In his journal article, The Ungovernability of Hate Culture, Bharath Ganesh proposes that reconsidering the limits of free speech in light of extreme right-wing radicalization tactics may be the key to challenging what he calls digital hate culture. But free speech works differently for social media companies, who operate as businesses with the ability to set parameters on what type of content they will allow on their platforms. The calls for limitations on free speech based on digital hate culture aim blame at social media companies, with the assumption that they are responsible for pushing hateful content. Commonly cited evidence references the alt-right pipeline and inaction on the part of social media companies when these posts are reported. First, we'll address the assumption that social media companies are pushing radicalizing content. Researchers decided to test this theory in 2021, performing a test of recommender systems of several social media platforms known for harboring radical alt-right members, with the goal of determining whether or not they tended to recommend more extremist material upon a user's interaction with it. The results showed that no social media company other than YouTube was guilty of this. Prior to Elon Musk's takeover in 2022, Twitter was known as a relatively progressive website, being frequently criticized by the right wing for its censorship of hate speech. Since his takeover, however, the only thing that has sunk in for users is the repeated and frequent allowance of hate speech. Through Musk's blue check system, users can also earn money through engagement by posting provoking content, aka engagement farming, which is prioritized on users' feeds. Although, some scholars have pointed out that social media companies' allowance of hate speech might be fear-based, going on the belief that prohibiting hateful content might lend credence to the alt-right's claims of victimization, enhance their status with potential recruits, and push them onto encrypted apps where their activities become less visible and harder to monitor. However, social media is not the only influence in people's lives, nor is it the strongest. Social and physical environments play a much more prominent role in the formation of an individual's opinions. David Barrett cautions against blaming social media and applying greater free speech restrictions to the various platforms. He says that it is not a fault of social media, but a feature of human nature and our ability to form belief-based groups. He says that we are reaffirming our identity and group affiliation by tweeting, which is important in fulfilling an individual's need for a sense of community. This same logic can be applied when it comes to respected opinion leaders. While people are not sheep who conform to mass society theory, opinion leaders set trends and model behaviors for the members of their group, who then feel compelled to follow these trends and behaviors in order to receive affirmation and approval from the groups they belong to. Media studies scholar Luke Munn points out that because of the nature of social media as something you can curate to your own tastes, people tend to put themselves in an echo chamber, where they receive selective information about outgroups and their opinions. This means that in an echo chamber, individuals are only receiving a fraction of the picture when it comes to outgroups, making it easier for misinformation to spread. Attempts to correct misinformation are frequently hindered by the backfire effect, which says that when people receive unwelcome correcting information that challenges their views, they process the new information as being consistent with their own existing beliefs. This further lends to the extreme political polarization we see online. Instead of correction, Munn encourages connection. He focuses on how to help individuals recover from having been drawn into digital hate, using first-hand accounts from ex-radicals to give an idea of what that looks like. The consensus is that the key to recovery is breaking out of those echo chambers by touching grass and interacting with individuals outside of their echo chamber, or engaging with content like the videos from YouTuber ContraPoints, which dismantle specific talking points of the radical right from an empathetic perspective. This interaction with people outside their echo chambers helps individuals expand their worldviews and jostle their reinforced radical beliefs. So, what role has social media played in the influx of alt-right extremism and hate speech within the last decade? It has certainly granted space for extremist groups to spread hate, and in some cases has rewarded such behavior with engagement-based monetary profit. However, the onus of responsibility does not rest with social media companies, but with society. Rather than attempting to restrict what users can say online, we should be acknowledging that social media are merely platforms from which extremists speak. Online spaces serve as a substitute for real-life spaces and reflect larger underlying problems within our society. Posts on social media are not made to convert, but to reaffirm an individual's connection to their groups. Therefore, if people are most influenced by their peers and we consider social media to be a collection of public spaces where groups gather, then the question researchers should be asking is where this type of hate stems from in real life on an individual level, and how we can use an empathetic approach to dismantle prejudices within those individuals.